Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining today. Let's get started. If you do have a question during the presentation, please put it in the chat and we'll answer them at the end as time allows. As a reminder, we will send you a link to the final recording and presentation with helpful resource links after the session. Today is 108 Degrees Digital Marketing presenting the future of email marketing trends to watch and act on, led by Marianne Pfeiffer. Marianne is a marketing professional passionate about helping her clients reach their goals. She's the founder and principal of 108 Degrees, a certified women's business enterprise and a women-owned small business with over 20 years of outstanding service to the business community, nonprofits, and educational institutions. She is also a MailChimp Pro partner with over 25 years of experience in email marketing and the author of Precision Email: 7 Lessons in Engagement Strategy. Today, Marianne leads our session as your marketing strategist, helping you plan your path and answering the digital marketing questions that will lead you to success. Without further ado, Marianne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lauren. And thank you everyone for attending or watching the recorded version of this. Welcome to the future of email marketing. The robots are here. They are hopefully less pixelated than they were in the 1980s, but they are definitely here. And we will be talking about them and many ways that you can use them, among other things. Let me start with some things that you can expect in 2026 and basically for the next 12 to 18 months, things that you should know about email and what you should be expecting. First of all, that statistic we've been talking about for years where the return on investment is $36 for every dollar you spend on email, not expected to change. If anything, should be getting better because as we leverage tools with automation, with AI, it should make it less expensive for you to send more, better targeted email that will get you better results. We're also going to see very much, and if you haven't noticed it already, the massive expanse of AI and this continued evolution in all of our technology that we use through AI and other types of automations. We'll be talking more about that in just a few minutes. And finally, in 2026, you should be seeing, if you're doing things right, deeper engagement with your subscribers. And that engagement is going to be built on smart data, on privacy compliance, data that you're building through the trust that you build with your audience. So personalization, automation, interactive experiences, a whole bunch of things that are coming. So let's dig in. And let's start with AI-driven personalization, because personalization, as we've talked about in other workshops, is really the future here. So just as Inigo Montoya knows his audience, the importance of personalization in your data use is you need to know your audience. You need to know who you're talking to and what they're interested in, because the next frontier is really going to be leveraging AI for personalization, but you have to have the information for AI to be useful. See, AI is great at doing a lot of tedious, monotonous things, things that marketers have done for a long time, but a lot of us really hate doing because it takes a long time. They're tedious but necessary tasks. So things like behavioral segmentation and automation, understanding what people did, and then slicing and dicing your audience so that you can get them the most relevant thing that they could have for data to take action that you want them to take. It's tedious to do that. But AI is great at that. And so we can leverage that now. It's already doing a lot and it's going to continue to do more. As we talk about AI and we talk about different types of AI, predictive analytics, which help you with things like optimizing your send times, optimizing the offers that you put in front of your audience. This is really where we're going and what we're going to see more of in 2026. So you'll see it through your ESPs, you'll see it through your CRM software, options to slice and dice your audience and personalize messaging that they're getting based on the predictive analytics that come through the AI embedded in that software. Generative AI, which is the stuff we think about when we go, hey, let's make a picture of a cat riding a bicycle with a birthday hat on. Generative AI will assist with copy creation, with testing, with graphics. That's where we're going with AI. Now, I do say, though, when it comes to the generative AI stuff, I wouldn't trust it as much as I trust predictive AI. And the reason being is that the predictive AI, the stuff that slices and dices information, it's more clinical, it's more cut and dry, and you can sort of set those parameters more easily. Generative AI is a little bit more artistic. It's writing, it's voice, it's tone, it's images. And you can't really do that with AI so well without some human oversight. I'm not saying it can't help you. AI is great for things like give me 5 subject lines to test. Here is my theme that I'd like it to be built on. It can give you some options based on things that are popular. However, when it comes to AI and its use in terms of creating original copy or in bringing forth your brand voice, it's just not great. So keep human oversight there. Make sure people are still involved. When it comes to this trend and best practices, I want you to think about leveraging AI with the human creativity to maintain your authentic brand and your authentic voice so that you can still be who you are. Make sure you're looking at the outputs. To all of my wonderful friends who are software builders, thank you for all the hard work you have put in building the AI models that we have today. But we all know that there's a lot of bias in those models because most of those developers come from the same type of background. Sorry, a lot of them are white men. But even for those where there's more diversity in the background of the coding team, the data that they're building things on are data models that are based on criteria from North America, from the United States, from Europe, from certain areas of the globe. They tend to have bias. So you have to look at the outputs that come in and say, is this in line with what we're trying to get to? Understanding that bias is there, understanding that it may not be completely compliant with your local laws. So audit those outputs, make sure it makes sense. What AI is going to be great for and what you really want to leverage it for in best practices is multivariate testing. So we've always suggested A/B split test things, right? A/B split test 2 subject lines or 2 content areas or 2 different graphics for your hero image. But when you have AI, you can now leverage that for much more complex multivariate testing. Take the subject line, the content, and the hero image and the multiple versions of that and test them in all different combinations. Now, if there's 2,000 people on your email list, this is not a best practice for you. But if there's 200,000 people on your email list, absolutely, this is your opportunity to really understand what motivates your audience and gets you to best results fast. All right, trend number 2. Interactive emails. So whether or not you can do the electric slide, your emails are going to start needing to in 2026. What do I mean by this? I mean engagement and interactivity that take just sitting there and reading an email that's in front of you and making it into an interactive experience for your subscriber. This means embedded polls, surveys, quizzes, carousels, AMP, whatever, right? Making sure that there is not just a reading input that's happening, but that they are actually interacting and engaging with your brand and with your email. Think about real-time content, right? So things like inventory counts, RSVP forms, countdown clocks, things like that, that's real-time engagement, real-time interactivity that means something to someone so that they can want to engage more with your emails. But when you do that, make sure you also are leveraging some fallback content because not every email client can support AMP and some of these other features. So you will still have to have 2 versions of your email, one that is very interactive and one that is static that falls back to those values when interactive can't work. Still, because of the way we're leveraging AI, this shouldn't be more work for you. You should have plenty of time to think about this and plan for this based on the time savings that AI is going to give you in other areas. Best practices when it comes to interactivity. Don't try to get to the moon on your first shot, okay? Start with one feature and track the lift that you get in your engagement based on that feature. So maybe you start with polls, okay? And you put a poll in and you gather that data and you use that data to provide some kind of feedback number later. See how much more interaction you get in your emails just by adding that one piece. Try something, but make sure that it's interesting and can engage them. If you're a little more evolved in this area, I would like to see you gather zero-party data for future use. So remember, now we've talked about zero and first-party data in some of our other workshops, but zero-party data is data that the subscriber volunteers to you that you can use. So when it comes to zero-party data, leverage this interactivity, this opportunity for engagement to gather useful data that you can use in the future for other engagement opportunities. Ask them a question and leverage that answer into content you can provide them next time that you know they're more likely to be interested in. Make sure, when you're using interactivity, The opting in is an important part of building your list because in the opting in where they express preferences or other information, they are able to give you information that will get you better engagement. So make sure you're using an opted in list. Make sure that that engagement that you're trying to put in interactively can build upon that so that you're building a circle of trust. And just from like a design standpoint, make sure that if you're building interactivity, you want people to vote or click or scratch off something, make sure that it works on mobile. A lot of us have big fat thumbs, right? We need something that'll make it easy for us to click on. So make sure your templates and your designs for these elements are mobile first and easy to use on any device. Moving on to trend number 3, zero party data. And why I care about where you got it is because the rules have changed completely. They are much different than they were 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. And we really need to be compliant with these rules because not only is it making you legally compliant with legal standards in different areas, but it's also about building trust with your subscriber. We live today in a post-cookie era. It was wonderful and a little creepy when we could follow people around the internet, right? Where we could see they stopped at this site and they followed this Google ad or they did whatever. It was great. It was also really creepy. And people figured out that it was creepy. So we kind of can't do it anymore. And that's probably not a bad thing. But what that means is you are that much more dependent on the zero party data that your subscribers provide to you in order to get them relevant information. So collect that data on your website, in your emails with quizzes and surveys, in any way that logically makes sense for how you normally interact with your subscribers. Collect that data. Get them to volunteer it as much as possible and explain transparently why you're collecting it and how you're going to use it. Trust is becoming one of the key essential elements in email marketing today. And if your subscribers can't trust you, they're gone. So make sure that you are collecting data responsibly, using it responsibly, and explaining to your subscribers how and why you want to use it to make it a better email experience for them. That doesn't mean you can't automate things, though. Absolutely. Use automation tools, use AI inside your software so that if consent is coming from your CRM and it's expressed in your CRM as an opt-in or an opt-out checkbox, that gets sent automatically to your ESP. Or if it's coming from a chat feature on your website or your shopping cart or wherever it's expressed, that it's streamlined into all systems coherently so that you, as the person sending email, can send the email your subscribers want to get. As I said, trust is really critical today. So prioritize the trust you're building with your subscriber by being transparent about the data and how you're using it and how often you're going to email them. Stop selling all the time. I mean, you should still sell. Don't, it's probably why a lot of you are using emails to sell. But don't think about email as a tool to sell all the time. Think about email as a tool to build a connection with your subscriber so that when they are ready to buy, that they think of you first and that they can access you easily. And maybe you can offer them an incentive from time to time. That's great. But don't always be selling. No one wants to be sold to every time they open an email. That's probably why they're unsubscribing. Also, keep your list healthy. Trust is with the subscriber, but it's also with the ESP and the subscriber, right? So the ESP needs to trust that you have a healthy list. And even the email providers for your subscribers need to trust that you have a healthy list. You're not going to get through to Gmail addresses if Gmail sees that most of your subscriber list that includes Gmail addresses never open your email. This is all about deliverability. We've had some talks about that in the past. Check out the YouTube channel in case you are looking for more information about that. But you need to protect the trust with your subscriber, with your ESP, and with the providers of the email services to your subscribers. So validate your list, clean it, scrub it, prune it regularly to make sure you have a healthy list. And that will build trust with your subscribers and it will build trust with your ESP and others. The thing that we've noticed and the things we're going to continue to see in 2026 is that when you develop a privacy conscious design process with email, your unsubscribe rates drop. When people understand why you're collecting data, how you're collecting data, how you're going to use it, and how you're going to respect their privacy as a subscriber on your list, they're much more likely to stay on your list. And that's what grows your list, and that's what grows your engagement. Trend number 4, design. Everybody loves design. It's so exciting. And I'm going to talk about some different design features, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you some examples of that. So let's talk about the trends for fonts and colors in 2026. We are definitely leaning into clean, modern design. That means more sans serif fonts. That means readability and clarity. It means bold, vibrant colors in your emails. It means strong contrast in your emails, which, by the way, is really good for accessibility. And also generally aligning your fonts and colors with accessibility standards. Now, I always say your brand colors are your brand colors. Or if your brand colors are red and green, people with red-green color blindness are never going to see them as red and green. There's nothing you can do about that. But what you can control is the contrast between the red and the background or the green and the background so that people who have red-green color blindness can still see and read your email and interact with it. All right, let's take a look at an example here. This one really does have that clean, modern design. This is from Freaks of Nature, and this is one that's gotten a lot of views this year. Bold, vibrant palette. Now, clean design, right? A lot of white, but that makes their orange, their brand colors, pop really dramatically. Strong contrast. Even you can see in their buttons, strong contrast there. It also aligns well with accessibility standards because while they have pictures, and keep in mind, every one of these pictures you see here can have alt text behind it that explains what it is. So if someone can't see the images, those images can be explained in text, and they will then know whether they should either try to load them or try to look at them somewhere else. But also you have short clips of text that make sense, that are easy for someone to understand. I like this one as well. This one is from Patagonia. So, their brand colors are more earthy, but they've given them a very bold palette and a bold look with the contrast. They're leveraging photos, but they're also leveraging text, and they're keeping the text short, direct, and to the point. Now we will talk about images and layout trends. So image and layout trends, minimalistic. So what we're thinking about is the less is more concept of design. We don't want walls of words. We don't want 42,000 pictures. We want a few high quality visuals and text that highlights what those are telling us. We don't want clutter. We want easy read, easy scroll. The best way to do this is really with modular and flexible grid patterns, very easy to adopt. And also making sure that your templates and your designs are going to work with interactive elements and also on all different devices. Let's take a look at kind of what this looks like in practice. So this one from Rest is really nice. There's actually quite a lot of information on this. Even though there's a lot of information, the design is very clean. So they have a lot, but it isn't a lot. If you, for example, can't load this chart image, now this chart could have been 4 paragraphs of text or even 2 paragraphs of text, and they would have said what they needed to say, but it wouldn't have been simple. It's a lot easier to present that information in a graphic format. Now, from an accessibility standpoint, if you wanted to take this and make it more accessible, you can have descriptive elements to this graphic, click back to your website where there's a text explanation there for the people who need it. But for everybody else, it's really easy to just look at a chart very quickly. You've got a nice grid pattern with this. It's very simple. There's a left, right, there's a vertical alignment. It looks great and it responds well. Let's look at a mobile and desktop comparison for when we're talking about these grid patterns and device compatibility. So this is the mobile version, and next to it, the desktop version from Travelodge. Now, in the mobile version, you can see that the buttons for voting are stacked, whereas on the desktop version, it's one row. Now, the one row is certainly a more efficient way, but if I had those in one row on the mobile version, it'd be really hard to see what they are. It'd be smaller and harder to click on. So instead, the mobile compatibility version is to make it one long column and let people scroll. One is a lot easier to see on your desktop. One is a lot easier to see on your phone. So thinking about that device adaptability when you want to have some kind of engagement element. Let's talk about motion in email because this has not stopped. But animations today, we're looking for less in your face. Everyone can do it, so it doesn't need to be obnoxious. Trying to focus animation on places where you want them to take action. So calls to action, icons, places you really want people to stand up and notice. And your goal here is attention without distraction. Okay. So you want to have motion in your email, but because motion is so much more common, you're not doing it for the sake of standing out. You're doing it for the sake of pointing someone to the thing they need to look at. So in practice, this is a great one because this is a very simple, basic animated GIF. But when you open this email really stands out. You know exactly what it is. It stands out. It's a simple animation. It doesn't make you dizzy, but it does the job. It increases your attention to the email without distracting you from what you want it to do. I love this one from Lyft. I think this one's really cool because when you open it up, so the GIF actually has no background, so they're putting it on their brand background there, but it looks great. And what it does is draw your attention to the Learn More button, because when you open this up, you are going to open it, and the first thing your eye is going to be drawn to is that scooter. And they'll immediately go up and you see the call to action button, Learn More. Even if you don't read the other stuff, you're likely to click on that button. So think about calls to action as a way to leverage your motion or your animation. Trend number 5 is sustainability and accessibility, because as we know, with email marketing, you have great power, more power than you can realize, but that means more responsibility as well. What does that look like? Well, responsible email design. Now, this one, some people, initially when this concept came up, people kind of laughed. They're like, carbon footprint. What kind of carbon footprint can email make? It's a small little file, but it actually can have quite a bit of carbon footprint. If you think about one email being about a meg of data, right? Which is, and again, this is a lot of back of the envelope math. I am no environmental scientist, okay? But if a 1 megabyte email can produce about 19 grams of CO2, which is roughly the calculation, if you send 250,000 emails, that's the carbon footprint of one car on the road for a year. Now, a lot of us have lists of more than a couple 100,000. And every time you send an email, you put another car on the road. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but by using sort of lightweight and modular code and smaller graphics, just doing things to improve load times, you reduce that carbon footprint. And especially if your brand is green oriented, you're a Patagonia or you're any type of brand who's involved in outdoor enthusiasts, you kind of have a responsibility to live up to that as part of your virtues as a company. That's part of your mission, your core values, right? So do it in your email. It's not that hard, and it's worth the time to do it. Also think about optimizing your send frequency. Carbon footprint aside, the more you send, the more production and resources it takes for you internally as a company, as well as anything external to do that. So optimize it. Think about how you can be more responsible. Instead of sending 17 emails a month, maybe you can send 4 if you learn how to optimize it. As we've discussed, maintaining your list hygiene. Now, from a responsibility standpoint, this is about reducing waste, okay? It's reducing carbon footprint. It's reducing general resources allocated to maintaining something. It's also just better for your domain. It's just better for your reach in general. So you need to do it anyway. And in terms of responsible design, accessibility. Make sure your templates are accessible. Start there, right? Because most people in your company that are creating email should be starting with a template. So if you make a template accessible, then your email campaigns will be accessible. Color contrast standards are important. Once you do them in the template, they are there and preserved. ARIA tagging is also great. Anything that you can do to help make your emails more accessible is definitely the trend we're seeing for 2026 and the trend that subscribers want to see. And it's what gets better results. And the thing is, when you have responsible email design, you build better long-term value. What do I mean by that? Your audience prefers sustainability. They prefer inclusivity, okay? They may not say it, and there's some in your audience that don't care, but for the ones that do, if you are expressing that in your email, you are building a connection to them and something that they value. So why not do that? You're also increasing your credibility as a brand. Now, this is not a topic. This is not a workshop that is focused on brand and brand standards and reach. That's another topic and another workshop on another YouTube link for another day. But you build credibility for your brand, and that increases the value of your brand to your subscriber. So in the long term, it's a better investment in your brand and investment in your email if you are thinking about accessibility standards, if you are thinking about inclusivity, and if you are doing the sort of responsible best practices we want to see in email marketing. And generally, that improves your reach because when people like your brand, they talk about your brand. And when they talk about your brand and become an advocate of your brand, it spreads the word even further without you having to lift a finger. Fantastic, right? Big trend we're going to talk about today is automation and real-time campaigns. So, automation and real-time is huge. It's what we call adaptive customer journeys. So, think about cross-channel selling. So, somebody goes to your website and they fill a shopping cart. Maybe they check out, maybe they don't. If they don't, you send them an automated email with an abandoned cart message. Maybe they go to your chat on your website and they start to chat with support about having trouble checking out. Well, then you can text them a link to help them with information. And a lot of this can be automated. So think about integration. This is what's going to happen in 2026. You're going to start to see, if you don't already in your providers, you're going to start to see these connections come out with integration for real-time messaging across all these different channels. You're going to see better predictive AI so that it helps you with churn. It helps you increase upsell opportunities. Okay. And the use of AI in these adaptive journeys will help you build better messaging with your subscriber that's more relevant to where they are in that moment instead of waiting until you have time to go look at the results from the shopping cart checkouts to react to something that they did or a question that they had. Think about replacing your static drip campaigns with continuous journey orchestration assisted by agentic AI. Again, this is probably not something you're doing on your own. It's going to be coming through some of your software providers. But when you start to see how the static drip campaign just sends them thing, 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 but agentic AI can say, well, based on this action over here, they are this part of their journey. Let's send them that piece first before we send them this piece. That's what we're looking for. That's where 2026 is taking us. And that's a lot. And we're almost at time. So let me finish quickly with your action plan. Your program action plan for 2026 is, first of all, identify what manually you are doing right now and what AI you can use to help it. Let AI enrich your data. Let AI help you with automation. Stop doing everything for yourself. If you do nothing else between now and January, pilot one interactive email feature in your next campaign and then monitor that for lift. If you don't have preference centers already, start them. If you do, let's refresh them and keep in mind that zero-party data collection and the privacy compliance you have to think about for 2026. Make sure you implement by January a regular list hygiene process for your email. Keep it clean so you can be delivered. And finally, if you haven't already, which I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, define KPIs that measure the interactive engagement and personalized impact of your campaigns. You've got to have goals and you've got to measure what you're doing against those goals. So define the KPIs, then look at the interactive things that you're doing. Look at the automated things you're doing with AI. See where it's really helping and see where you're getting that lift in the personalized engagement with your audience. We will send out to you, just message in the chat that you're interested. The videos from last year's Unspam conference, great link, lots of great information. Stats that will justify putting your time into your 2026 email campaign. This is a fantastic report on more information about 2026 trends, some design examples to inspire, and also a great planning guide to get you started. So if you're interested, just reach out to us. We're happy to send these resources over to you so you can get started planning an extremely successful 2026 email program. And we will see you in January for our next workshop, which is about storytelling with email, which making your mission resonate. And that was a lot, and I talked really fast. Hope I didn't destroy anybody in the process.
Well,
Glad you liked it, John.
they know where to find you if they need you.
Yeah, right? All right. I think that covers everything. Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you all have your homework. So good luck and get at it. And I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about how to take your marketing to the next level, check out our YouTube channel with recordings from our past workshops and other highlights.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
And bye.